Wasatyahala ikata Hrafnar. With you all health, I am Hrafnar, or Raven, whichever you prefer. This is episode 3 of Mimyr's Well. Well, today here I am in my workshop, as you can see. I've got a bunch of raw horns up there waiting to be crafted into drinking horns or ale horns. So, for those of you who don't know, that's what I do for a living. I make drinking horns and war horns. I make a few other things as well. For example, I make oils for the hair, skin, and beard. This is my brand right there. This is one of my blends of oil. This one is called Mimyr's Tears. But we'll get into that another time. So this is what I do for a living. This is a custom drinking horn that I'm making for someone. It's a simple, small, probably about 10-ounce drinking horn here. So this person ordered a custom drinking horn and simply asked that I put the horn triquetra on it. And so I figured I would take a moment to talk a little bit about this symbol and my craft overall. In the previous episode, I went into the history of drinking horns and used that to present an argument for the fact that we need to change people's conceptions of what it means to be a Norse or Germanic heathen or pagan in order to help fight against people taking our culture and twisting it for white supremacy. So in this video, in this episode, well, I'll just get to it. So I take the raw horns. Let's say, for example, this one. This is a water buffalo horn, which I get from Native American wholesalers. I believe that if you are conducting business in somebody else's native land, that you should conduct your business in a way which gives back to the economy of the native people. It's only right. And my way of doing that with my business is by sourcing my raw materials as much as possible from Native American wholesalers. And so as a result, since the wholesalers happen to have a lot of water buffalo, I wind up having a lot of water buffalo horn. They also sell me Native American buffalo horn, and I also find that they have a lot of ox, which actually works out perfectly because ox is actually traditional for us. So, it's a neat little way of the gods basically saying, hey, you don't have to choose between honoring your own traditions and being respectful to other people, right? But anyways, I'll take the raw horn and I'll boil it to sterilize it, and then I'll cure it with vodka for 7 days. Now, curing is something that a lot of people will talk about. If you go online and you research, how to make a drinking horn, they all tell you to cure it, but they won't really tell you what curing actually is. So curing is where you take alcohol, usually a high alcohol per volume alcohol, a high APV alcohol, and you'll let it sit inside of the horn for a certain period of time. Some people will say 2 days, some people will say 3 days. I prefer 7 days. And what it does is the alcohol will seep into the horn and will extract toxins and bad stuff that makes the horn have that unpleasant stench and taste, and basically does a deeper cleansing on the horn. And in theory, is what makes the horn food safe. And so then after I've boiled the horns and after I've cured them, personally, by the way, I prefer to use Icelandic vodka. I like to use Reyka for a number of reasons. Reyka is really eco-friendly. They use, how do you explain it in English? They're very environmentally friendly. And they filter their vodka through volcanic rock, and they use clean energy. That's what it is. They use clean energy in their facilities. So yeah, they're good for the environment. And also, I love the fact that they source their waters that they use to make their vodka from the historic homestead of Egil Skallagrimsson. So if you know that song, "My Mother Told Me," etc., then you'll know that song was originally written in Icelandic Old Norse around 1,000 years ago, give or take, by Egil Skallagrimsson. And so, the waters that they used to make Reyka are taken from his historic homestead. So in a way, if you're curing a drinking horn with Reyka, you're kind of, imbuing it with a connection to that part of our history and to that song. Anyways, so after I've boiled them and I've cured them, I will dry them and then I'll sand them down and then I'll polish them. And I use boiled linseed oil to polish them. And that's what makes them look like this. Then I'll carve them and I'll paint them. There's a lot more to the process of carving and painting because for me, it's a spiritual practice. But I'll carve them and I'll paint them. And as I'm working on them, I commune with the spirit of the horn. And I allow it to show me who it is. And that tends to come out in the artwork. And then after I've carved and painted them, I'll sand them again. I'll do touch-ups on them again. I'll polish them a little bit more. And then I coat the outside with a layer of eco-friendly, non-toxic shellac. And that creates a protective coating that will protect the paint job and the exterior of the horn. And that's what finishes the horn, basically. And the end result is this beautiful, shiny, glassy look. Now, as for the inside of the horn, people often ask me whether or not I seal the inside of the horn. Sometimes. I don't seal the inside of the horn unless I'm paid extra to do that. And here are the reasons why. One way that people will often seal the inside of the horn, in one modern way, is with a food-grade epoxy resin. And that's fucking great, if you can get the epoxy to dry correctly and it doesn't wind up being sticky. But for me, I've not had good luck with the food-grade epoxy resin. Here and there, I've gotten some that worked, but it's risky doing it for me because, if someone has bought or paid for a custom horn and then the food-grade epoxy resin doesn't work, then I've botched that person's order. And I personally would rather not risk that, So I just generally prefer not to bother with food-grade epoxy resin. Now, if you do choose to do that, because if you buy a horn from me, or if you're making drinking horns yourself, then you can absolutely go ahead and, experiment and, try it out for yourself. There are some pros and cons to a food grade epoxy resin. It is a permanent seal, so you don't have to redo it. So that's one of the pros. It is permanent, it's forever. And if you epoxy, for example, the inside and the outside of a smaller horn that would fit inside a dishwasher, then you can make a dishwasher safe drinking horn if you fully epoxy the whole thing. So that's another one of the possible pros. It makes it easier to clean the horn, but the cons are, aside from the fact that the epoxy might not turn out correctly, that the horn does not absorb the essence of what you drink. Now see, this horn right here, as an example, is not sealed on the inside. It's cured, so it's safe to drink from, but it's not sealed on the inside. And so that means that every time that you fill it with a drink, fill it with a beverage, it'll absorb into the horn some of the essence of that drink. And if you are, hold on. My beloved is calling me. Hi.
Apparently I'm not signed into Disney, and I'm mad about it because I want to watch Lion King and I can't, so
You're not signed into Disney?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm recording a video for YouTube.
Okay.
Then I'll be done in a few minutes, and I'll come help you with the Disney.
Okay.
I love you.
Well,
That was my beloved. Now, where was I? So, if you have an unsealed horn, it will absorb the essence of anything that you put into it, right? And so, over time, an unsealed horn will naturally develop a flavor profile that reflects your drinking habits. And let's say that you're a more eclectic person, right? And so, one day you might drink one thing, another day you might drink another thing, one day you might drink fucking hard cider, fucking peach cider or whatever, but then the next day you might be drinking a fucking Jack Daniel's honey whiskey or something like that, and that's just who you are as a person. Well, over time, over years or whatever of you using your drinking horn, it will build up an eclectic flavor profile, and that will be a reflection of who you are. You see, that horn will kind of like begin to flavor the drinks that you put into it. And so what's really neat about that is if you share a drink from your horn with somebody that you actually find, worth it, because that's how we are in our culture. We don't share drinks from our personal horns with people if we don't respect them enough, then that person might actually get a taste of who you are. It's, a bit of your soul, your personality that gets carried in that horn. And this is likely, at least in my beliefs, one of the reasons why we instinctively have the practice of using drinking horns for rituals of bonding. Because back in the old days, if we wanted to bond with somebody and make them as kin, we would pass a drinking horn with them. And I think that may be one of the reasons why. However, so you don't get that if you seal the horn. It takes that soulful touch away from it. Now, if you don't seal a horn, though, the horn can be a bit more high maintenance in certain ways, because you see, horn is made of keratin. It's made of the same thing as your skin, your hair, and your eyes, and your nails. And so that means it's absorbent, right? And so every time that you use your horn, if it's not sealed on the inside, and if you don't dry it out thoroughly, that moisture can actually get inside the layers of the horn, and moisture will expand and contract in response to changes in the temperature, right? And so that can actually cause the horn to delaminate or to come apart and degrade. And on top of that, that moisture can also cause the buildup of bacteria, and it can cause rotting and decay, and can cause a stench to develop. And so, if you have an unsealed horn, one of the pros is you get that deep connection to the horn. One of the cons is that you need to be more careful after each use to make sure that you dry it thoroughly. Now, another form of sealing a horn can be with beeswax, which is more traditional. And so here are some of the pros and cons with that. Obviously, one of the cons is, again, because you're sealing the horn, you don't get that personal bond with it, that connection with it. However, it can extend the lifespan of the horn. Sealing a horn in general, either with epoxy or with beeswax, can extend the lifespan of the horn, because when you seal the horn, it prevents moisture from being absorbed into the horn and causing those problems I just described, right? And so, in that sense, it can be good for the horn long term. But one of the downsides with the beeswax seal is that, unlike with an epoxy seal, with a beeswax seal, you can't go in there and scrub the horn to clean it, right? With an epoxy seal, and I have done that on a few horns. Like this one, for example. This one is epoxied on the inside and the outside, right? Now, it's too big to fit in a dishwasher, so I'm not going to do that. But I can go in there and I can scrub it. I can take a scrub brush, or I can take a regular sponge, and I can go in there and I can scrub it and clean it really thoroughly. And it's really good for the sanitation, But this is a permanent epoxy resin seal. You can't do that with a beeswax seal because it's beeswax. It's, sticky, so you can't really scrub it. And you can't exactly use hot water to sterilize the inside of a horn after it's been sealed with beeswax, because the hot water will actually melt the beeswax seal, so you can't let it sit with steamy water in it to clean it if it's been sealed with beeswax. You can do that if it hasn't been sealed at all, or if it has been sealed with epoxy, but not with beeswax, because the beeswax will melt. So the downsides of the beeswax seal are you can't scrub it to clean it like you can with epoxy or with an unsealed horn, and you can't let hot liquid sit in it because that'll melt the seal. One of the upsides, though, is that you don't have to clean it as often. That is, people have suggested that when you have a beeswax seal, that you just, you rinse it out with cold water, hot water, whatever. Well, okay, not hot water, but you rinse it out with cold water after each use, and, just set it out to dry. Make sure you set it out upside down if possible. If not, oh well. But every 3 months, melt out the old beeswax seal and put in a new one. And that's fine. But one of the problems is not everybody can reseal a horn. It's not that it's complicated. It's that it's a bit of a project, So, some people might be willing to do that, and if you're willing to do that, more power to you. It can actually be really fun, and I will probably be doing some videos soon showing how I do it. But, if you happen to have a local drinking horn maker, then, beeswax seal is not really a big deal, because every 3 months you can just go to your local drinking horn maker and just have them reseal it for you. So, at the end of the day, whether or not you seal the inside of your horn, and if you are going to seal it, whether or not you do epoxy or beeswax, it's, to me personally, at the end of the day, I think it's 50-50. It depends on what your priorities are. I personally prefer to have my horns either unsealed or beeswaxed. My personal drinking horn, it's not over here at the moment, but my personal drinking horn is actually sealed with beeswax. Of course, I did that because my personal drinking horn has delamination. It was already coming apart, and so, I chose to beeswax it for the well-being of the horn. So, that's today's episode. If I missed anything, I guess I'll just get it next time. But thank you for watching my podcast. And also, if you would like to buy a custom drinking horn from me, please email me. My email will be in the description of this video. If you would like a drinking horn of this size and type, or within this size range, my price is $54 plus shipping, and I will do whatever artwork you want, within reason, of course. Just email me, and you can email me pictures of stuff, sigils, runes, people's faces, whatever that you would like me to carve and paint on your drinking horn, and I'll do it. $54 plus shipping. And if you would like a stand, to go with your horn, stands are $21. And they're also customizable. Also, I make oils for the hair, beard, and skin, like I was saying before. This one is Mimyr's Tears. It's $12 a bottle. It's olive oil, cedar essential oil, and vitamin E. And I make the essential oils myself. It's a 1-month supply. You can put it on your beard, put it on your face, put it on your scalp, or what have you. And it's good for you. I will go more into details about it in another video, but it's $12 a bottle. It's got a 3-year shelf life, and it's 30 milliliters. I also have Hrungnir's Blood, which is the same as Mimyr's Tears, but with peppermint essential oil. That one's $18 a bottle. And I've got Odin's Pledge, which is walnut oil, cedar essential oil, peppermint essential oil, and vitamin E. And that one is $21 a bottle. Again, I will get more into those oils in another video. But if you would like to make a purchase to support my small business, please email me. Thank you very much, and have a good day.